Hi, this is Steve Harper talking this week about some of the things that we're asking for as WGA members, things that we're asking the producers, the AMPTP, for in our negotiations that they refused to talk to us about and refused to counter in any way, shape, or form. And there are many of those things. You can actually find the list on the WGA site. But today I'm going to be talking about one, which is preserving the writer's room. And why is preserving the writer's room such an important thing to writers like me? First of all, there are many ways that the writers' rooms are shrinking. There are these things called mini rooms that happen for streaming shows prior to a show even being picked up. And those mini rooms have fewer people in them, smaller staffs. They're asked to do a ton in terms of sometimes breaking an entire season or coming up with certain episodes. And it's hard work that usually they have less time to do at a lower price point. So it's really a tough gig for people who are trying to create television because there's less time and fewer people. And it's also harder to build a year of being a TV writer off of gigs that are smaller like that, because it's just harder to put that together and to make a decent living. So that's one attack on the writer's room. The other thing that's going on is that even for shows that are on networks or streaming shows that are picked up, that know that they're going to create a certain number of episodes, there are smaller and smaller writing staffs. And in fact, there are people out there, you've heard of them, Taylor Sheridan being among them, and some other pretty famous showrunners who insist that they write everything alone. And so they're not particularly interested in having a writer's room. So what we've done as the WGA in our negotiations is to ask for minimums to create and maintain the spirit of having several writers to do the work, so that the work is more manageable and is done in a better way with more ideas and more energy and more collective collaboration that happens over the course of the time, creating anywhere between 6 to 22 episodes. It's heavy lifting every week to come in and create a brand new episode. And so the more people, the more men, the more women, the more diverse people, the better those episodes theoretically are. And I believe it really is the case on shows that I've been on, where the more brains we have, the better work we end up doing, of course, guided by the showrunner and a specific vision for the show. So as these producers have chopped down the writer's room to become spaces where there are fewer writers, more work, it just becomes harder. And for people like, say, a Taylor Sheridan, who's really interested in writing all the episodes himself, I think that can be accomplished too, because that doesn't necessarily mean to me that writers shouldn't be hired and a showrunner can do whatever he or she wants with those writers. But here's why I think a writer's room is very important. Not only is it about perspectives and energy and getting the best characters and research and history and personal history and emotional investment that you can from a group of writers, but it's also about building the industry. One of the things that's happened to me and to my benefit, and for many writers out there who've been doing this for several years or more than a decade, as I have, is that I've gotten to be on shows where not only did I get to sort of move up the ranks and learn more and more about how shows are built from inside the writer's room, but I've also gotten the opportunity to go out onto sets, to be with actors, to be with directors, to be with production folks, to learn how to have a discussion about pre-production, creating props, looking for locations, dealing with directors, sitting in the edit room, all of those things that are really about the foundational sense of creating television in a way that is craftsman-like. It has been an industry where we apprentice to learn to do these things so that someday we can very capably be a showrunner, knowing and having touched all those different parts of the industry and all those different parts of the process. What's happening now with many of these mini rooms and shorter orders, and especially too, I forgot to mention before, in these spaces of streaming shows, often the episodes are written and a bunch of writers go home, and then one or two writers stick around to do the entire production process and post-production process. And all of those other writers don't learn how to create television. They only learn how to create one part. So we're talking about keeping a healthy space where people can learn and grow, where the writers' rooms have enough people so that they can delegate and learn. And if they happen to be, working for somebody who's not particularly interested in that, then at least those writers are in the industry and can have stuff on their resume and can learn by absorption, or learn to create research for a Taylor Sheridan or a showrunner who doesn't think they need people for the writing of it. There's so much to learn. And we're talking about a culture of creatives and learning to pass on the power and the skill and the talent of what it is we do as television writers to the next generation. That doesn't happen if you don't have spaces for younger writers or greener writers to come into the process and participate. It doesn't happen. And the shorter and smaller these writers' rooms are, the more you have only experienced people, and there's no path to enter the industry. So that's what we're fighting for, the sense of keeping the culture of the writer's room. There were several proposals on the table, and the AMPTP, the producers, didn't have a counter and didn't want to discuss those things about minimum numbers of writers in writers' rooms across the industry. And I think that's a huge problem that they didn't want to discuss it, because I really think that that's a way that we can keep the culture of television alive and keep teaching younger and newer writers how to do what we do, so that the television industry as a writer will be something that's viable and powerful and helpful and healthy for years and years and years to come. So thanks for watching. If you dug this information, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this page. If you have any questions about this or anything else relating to the writers, to becoming a television writer, being a television writer or a screenwriter, or the picket line or the strike, leave those comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching. Take a look at yourcreativelife.com, where you can find a whole host of things about my coaching, about the newsletter, about the podcast, and a link to this channel. And you can subscribe to, as I said, the monthly newsletter, which comes out and gives you fantastic and new and interesting information about the writer's life. Thanks for watching.